So our agenda today is very simple. I'll start with who we are, i.e. CRM Dynamics. Then I'm going to go through a customer insights overview, including some of the issues that this helps resolve for your business. Then we're going to go into very specifics around a case study of Tivoli, which I'm sure you'll really enjoy. Then we'll talk about the customer insights architecture, and we'll finish up with a wrap up, next steps, and questions. Typically, this webinar takes about 30 minutes, so we have lots of time for questions. So put your question in the chat, in the question area, and then we'll handle the question afterwards at the end. So CRM Dynamics, our company. Just in a nutshell, we're a gold certified partner. And after many years in business, we've done over 700 projects for more than 250 clients. And recently, we were brought into the Microsoft Inner Circle in 2019, 2020, which means we're in the top 1% of partners worldwide for Microsoft. And one of the partners that makes recommendations on the actual direction of the Dynamics 365 product. We also won in 2019, 2020, the Microsoft Impact Award for Business Applications for Canada. Now, we're located in Toronto. We've got about 70 people now. We've been growing like crazy. A lot of our implementations are in Canada, but we also have a lot of clients in the US and some clients in the Caribbean and in Australia. So why customer insights? Why now? Why are we talking about this today? Over the last 3 years, I've been talking about customer 360-degree views with grocery companies, gaming and casino organizations, chains of appliance stores, equipment dealers, financial services organizations. But really executing on that vision has not been easy. Now, during the last 9 months, the importance of achieving this customer 360-degree view and being able to execute it have become not just important, but really, really critical. And if you look at companies like Amazon that are doing very well, they're growing at an unprecedented rate, while those who don't are really struggling. So some of the key issues that are happening. Customer data and system are unbelievably fragmented, and we'll be going through that later. Is the customer experience and personalization you'll be able to drive, is it the same across your contact center, your website, your emails, your newsletters? Likely not. And then we really start to talk about privacy laws. It's now even more difficult to get consent to contact and market to individuals and companies. And you see here that when you finally have it, and if you don't provide value, if you don't give them what they need, if the communication is not timely and relevant, it's so easy to get unsubscribed and waste all that marketing effort. And finally, with the exponential growth in data as being a challenge to keep up with storage and computing power. If you imagine we have clients that have 700,000, 1 million, 2 million customer records, very, very difficult when you're trying to aggregate that across multiple systems to bring it all in one structure, one infrastructure. So the objectives for this, why are we looking at doing this? Well, there's two main objectives I'd like to talk about. The first one that everyone likes is increasing revenue. So we want to identify who will churn and action it. We want to identify who should be buying, what they should be buying, and what should they be buying more? Target them. And we also want to prevent clients from leaving due to bad experiences, or especially due to irrelevant content. The other thing we really want to drive is increasing the effectiveness of marketing dollars. You'll be able to reduce marketing spend while getting more business. For example, there'll be fewer emails and communications sent, better responses to the ones that are sent, and to what you do for your clients. So if you imagine, you'll be able to reduce the number of campaigns that are not focused, so you'll save on the time to create them and manage them, but get more results out of your marketing effort and your marketing dollar. Now, I've talked about personalization to drive better customer experience. At the heart of it all is delivering these personalized experiences is data. So you're generating huge amounts of data as you engage across all these different channels with all the devices, and it's all creating data. So you've got demographic data, occupation, geography, age, income, etc. So that's typically on one system. Then you bring in behavioral data on top of that. So browsing, preferences, usage pattern, social, typically different systems, different platforms, seldom integrated. Add to that all the transactional data. Imagine all the POS data that you've got, the sales data on your website. And this can be across business units. This could be across products, across geography. Add all the proprietary data that you're capturing, things like brand affinity and etc. So now you've got a huge amount of data that you're trying to manage. So as organizations, we're really data rich but information poor. But if you can harness all this data and get a holistic view of everything within your business and your customers, and you can really then power the personalization and the intelligent engagement that consumers want. So with all this, what does it look like? With all this complexity, let's try to build a system that gives us that. So you've got this. You've got somewhere in the corner, you've got a customer record. So you hire data scientists. You write complex ETL queries. You try to do some data cleaning to try to bring all this into a unique customer profile so that you can eventually drive activities, measures, predictions, and segments, i.e. marketing segments. So you're trying to do all that in one right now with the mess that we have in platforms and data. And you really try to get out of that a customer 360 view. So very difficult to do. If you're a Microsoft CRM user, you might remember this screen. This is a screen from a couple of years ago. We used to have just basics on leads, so just the information on the contact, a bit of activity, some stakeholders, a little bit of information on the process. Then after that, we started getting more information. We then had phone calls, activities, maps. It got a bit better over the years. Now, with some of the sales insights that we have, we're able to now drive things like the LinkedIn integration. We're able to drive now relationship assessment and value of relationships. So we're getting further and further away from the old systems and closer to what we want. But then imagine now if you had this. This is what customer insights looks like. So you've got now a customer profile. You have an engagement score. So this person is highly engaged. You see insights on what the person is looking at or things that would be useful for this person. You see affinity across brands, purchasing across brands and across channels, across geography, etc. You're seeing churn risk over time. You're seeing customer lifetime value and all your transactions and all your timelines across all the different channels. Now, this is where you want to get. This is the holy grail of a customer data platform. So how do you get there? The solution that we're talking about enables administrators to easily bring in all the customer data from various sources, whether the data is in a transactional system, in a behavioral system, in internal or external data sources. You've got connectors in between to bring it all in, and then the solution standardizes the data and applies built-in AI to automatically match and merge the customer records into one comprehensive customer profile. And in addition, the organization can create more comprehensive profile with brand affinity and interest from proprietary services if you want. Now, with all the accessible, persistent, up-to-date customer information, the entire organization has a single source of truth, on top of which you can layer analytics, AI, and machine learning that can be applied to derive insights and KPIs. So this data can then be used to light up across all your business scenarios, like Dynamics 365 apps and third-party CRM, and as well, and to power personalized experiences and optimize business processes across all the channels of engagement. So Customer Insights as an app gives you all the information you need. Now, it's not just an app. It actually is available on mobile. So your salespeople can have access to it, and people that are meeting clients day to day have real up-to-date information. It's part of the Dynamics platform, so it integrates with Power BI, so you can bring this into all your dashboards, all your management information. And really, if you want, again, part of the platform, you can bring this into Teams. This gives you a bit of background on why we're talking about this. Now I'm going to get into discussions about a specific case study, Tivoli Gardens. So a bit of background. So the guest experience has been and really still is the recipe for success for this. This is one of the oldest theme parks in the world. So ever since the early days, Tivoli's been innovating both with attractions, and that, by the way, they still operate one of the world's oldest wooden roller coasters, and with their business model. For example, in order to create guest loyalty, way back in 1845, it became possible to buy a season pass instead of a single ticket. And more recently, Tivoli introduced the concept of Friday rock concerts, which helped them draw into some younger audiences. It became a huge success and is now a good reason for guests to obtain and keep a Tivoli season pass. Now, the business challenge for Tivoli in 2019, after 175 years, they decided to replace the annual card with the Tivoli Pass subscription. So this ensured customers didn't have to buy or renew their cards manually every year. But this subscription to magic, as they call it, also creates some concerns, because card sales form a big part of Tivoli total and reoccurring revenue. And now with customers having a subscription and an option to cancel the subscription within 1 month notice, nobody could really tell how this would impact the overall customer churn rate. And for the Tivoli leadership team, it was clear that they needed to find a better way to predict the likelihood for a specific customer to churn and really rethink their customer retention and loyalty strategy. And all of this needed to be embedded into their guest experience, the CRM, and their marketing strategy. So before customer insights, the CTO at Tivoli realized that this situation called for what's called a customer data platform. And while the company had a wealth of customer data, Tivoli couldn't really use it because it was spread across multiple applications. From a business use case scenario, Tivoli employees working at the service desk and really everyone else interacting with customers within the park would now have a true 360-degree view of the guests. Users will see contact information, guest interactions on the timeline, and last but not least, they need to be able to see AI-based predictions for churn score, user style preferences, likelihood to take a ride, etc. And from there, the marketing team could create dynamic customer segments in support of a more personalized customer engagement. So business value, everyone always wants to know what results did this organization get out of it. So a couple of examples. The CTO had the following example for return on investment relating to customer insights. So specifically, the CI-based churn model enabled Tivoli to reduce the number of false positives, i.e. loyal customers falsely determined as likely to churn, by a factor of 3 compared to the model they had before, a factor of 3. So this in turn meant that Tivoli was able to save customer retention budget and allocate it otherwise. And beyond churn analysis, the Tivoli IT team is really now able to easily set up multiple prediction scenarios without having to hire costly data scientist experts, simply by using the out-of-the-box AI Builder integration. And this has been really revolutionary for the Tivoli organization. Let's talk about some details here on the platform. So this is a screen capture of the Tivoli Customer Insights screen. So you can see the campaigns, the categories, the brands. Let's dig in a bit more into what this looks like. So connectors. If you've ever worked with Power BI, you know that Power BI has a set of out-of-the-box connectors that allow you to pull data in. Customer Insights works with those exact same connectors. The list here is from an older screen capture from Tivoli. There are many more now available, and Power BI is the leader from a business analytics perspective Microsoft is investing huge amount of dollar and resources to increase the number of connectors and provide the connectivity to all the different data platforms. So you might want to be ingesting data from things like Azure, Salesforce, SharePoint list, even down to an on-premise system. Through the gateway connectors, you can ingest the data with a next action, just clicking through. And going back to the classic CRM implementation, this takes weeks, months, and in some cases, multiple years to accomplish. Same thing if you're doing an ERP implementation. One of the biggest challenges, data, is always bring all your data together to be able to have one view of your customer. Now for Tivoli, this was a matter of days to be able to achieve that. They were able to bring in 9 different data sources where the customer data reside. They had, for example, GLX to know where a customer specifically is within the park, close to what service. Tivoli also was using Dynamics 365, so it was easy to pull in 16 entities into the system. But they're also using Sitecore for their website. They're using Falcon.io to track social information. They had Twitter and Facebook posts, etc. And they use a system called Galaxy with registers which ride the attendee went on. So they were able to ingest all that data into customer insights very, very quickly. Now, what's the next step? The AI screen: map, match, and merge. So imagine if I had 9 different data sources that captured information about me. I could be different in each of these sources. You would need to make sense of that data to generate a distinct profile for Pierre. The built-in AI looks at all the data sources and provides a recommendation for a primary key between information where it doesn't exist. So let me repeat that. It basically will look at your data sources and recommend primary keys where the primary key doesn't exist, where it's not easy to identify. So if I'm listed in one system as Pierre Bertrand, maybe Pierre H. Bertrand, or P. Bertrand in another, there's nothing linking me together. We need a primary key to link the tables together. Very, very important, as you know. So this is as simple as you verifying that the contact ID is the primary key in this example. The system is doing this for me out of the box. I'm simply verifying that I believe these connectors are correct. And of course, if necessary, you can override that and specify another key or another connector. It's very easy to do. Now comes the match and merge, the real interesting part of the system. So my name is Pierre Bertrand. I might have filled out my name in one system that way, but in another, it's just Pierre. In a third, it's maybe Pierre-Claude Bertrand. My email address might be common. It might not be. So if I create a matching rule, we're able to look across a different set of tables and say, you know what? These two things are quite similar, and we found a matching email address, so we will match the records together. I'll show that in a second. But of course, the last logical thing you want to do is to merge the duplicate records together to create a single profile that you can look at, from which obviously you can drive the personalizations and the marketing and the segments. This is really important. A CDP, a common data platform, is $1 billion a year industry in which organizations are putting in millions and millions of dollars. But with customer insights, Microsoft has done the work for you. And it's basically allowing you, the customer, to do it all. You own the data, you're in control of it, and once the sources are added, you can set the rules that make sense on your own. So this really puts the power of the common data platform, of being able to bring everything together for your customers in one spot. It gives you the power to do it, to add your sources of data, and to manage it all. So now the matching section allows you to set up a set of rules that describes how to handle the matching. For example, the email is matched to the first name. You can specify what precision level you're looking to achieve. For example, the email needs to be a perfect match or not. Does it need to contain the first name or the last name? Does it need to have a specific domain, etc.? So you can set up as many rules as you want to be able to refine the match that you get. Once we set up the matching at first, you'll see the matched records like you see here. And then by fine-tuning the rules, you can improve your matching. So at this point, the data analyst is done. The consulting work is done, or if you have a data analyst on staff, you're good to go. He's created one profile from all those different sources. That's done. But there's still more work to do. At this point, it's actionable from a business-oriented perspective. Let's go back to the Tivoli story with their annual subscription challenge. So the business analyst went to different departments in the organization: sales, finance, marketing, and customer service. In the case of marketing, because they had the annual subscriptions, he created a segment. He wanted to look for customers that are located in Denmark and have a churn score of 70%. And just to explain churn scores, if you have a high churn score, you're likely to churn, and if you have a low churn score, you're likely to remain a customer. Now, just to be preemptive, people are going to ask me that at the end of the meeting today. How does the churn score get calculated? Well, this is where the AI comes in. We have an AI model that runs over the segmented data that we've been looking at and produces a score. In the case of Tivoli, this was about if a customer was located in Denmark, visited the gardens 4 times a year, what rides they went on, what social information they post, and 4 times a day this churn model was calculated. So you really had always up-to-date information on the customer when you interact with the customer in the park. So what did marketing do with this? They zoomed in on 2 specific segments. This is real data that was anonymized. So we'll be looking at Victoria as an example, but she really represents a segment. Now let's just talk about this screen for a second here. You have churn score over time. Now imagine as you're running marketing campaigns, as you're running promotions, as you're changing things in your business, pardon me, you can see the impact on the calculator or expected churn score as you're making those changes. You can also see last purchases, the lifetime value. So you make a change in the business and you can see if it trends up, if it trends down, if your churn score is trending up, trending down, etc. So it provides you really invaluable information about your business, about what you're doing, and about the impact. Let's look at Victoria here, but she's really one segment. So if you have a CRM system, you'll have to admit that it's hard to get this kind of 360-degree view of a customer unified across the multiple platforms. So in the middle panel, you see that there's a churn score. So this is an ideal customer, obviously, an ideal segment. At 12% churn is very, very low. And as marketing runs activities against these low churn segments, they now have a real-time feedback on the impact on churn, on engagement, on fulfillment, on dollar spent, etc. Very, very valuable information. But now if we look at Niels, he's got a ridiculously high churn score. Now you'll see that he's been in some events. There's some things that he's done in there, but if you think about Tivoli and a park, they have rock concerts on Fridays, and they're open, they're outside. So they're adding someone to an open air rock concert is very, very low cost. So what they've done with this segment is they sent a promotion to say, hey, come over to the next rock concert. It was an AHA concert at that time. And if you come over, bring a friend for free. And we'll give you a beer each if you come over. So this enabled the marketing group to really target segments based on what they've done before, based on their churn rate, etc., to provide them offers. Now what happened? So you see now that the promotion was consumed, the free beer, the free royal beer on the right in the timeline. The person brought a friend to the concert. The concert was an AHA concert. The person also is now becoming a corporate client. They've basically brought in an event meeting. Churn score is now much lower. So you can see very, very quickly the impact on what you're doing for the business. the impact on what you do from a marketing perspective. So it's information that was impossible for Tivoli to be able to see prior to this. Now, what does it mean for other industries? So here's an example of a greeting app in a financial services industry. So again, here you see activities in the middle, the transactions, transaction value. You see on the right account balance. You see all the information you need to be able to manage this client. The account balance is in green, transaction, and it shows you it's a high value customer. It also shows you recommendations, so upgrade a credit card, offer pre-approved loan for 8%, etc. So these are the kinds of insights. These are the kinds of real-time live interactions that can be driven by a unified data platform, by a 360-degree view of your client. Here's another example, a retail greeting app. So again, here, if you imagine you're in a retail store, you can be in a hotel, you can be in a casino. Greeting apps are very, very important. So here, customers check in, you're able to check in the customer, see all the activities, you see port of sales, you see recommendations, see high value customer. We've created a similar app to illustrate how this could be used for a company that builds condominiums and that has a sales center to be able to greet customers or prospects. We've also showed examples to clients that are in the gaming casino business, where someone comes in, they might have a complaint, they might want to check into the hotel. Again, an example of where having all the information in one spot is incredibly valuable. You might ask, okay, we've been talking about this now for half an hour, lots of time for questions, but what's next? How can you get started with this? And I mentioned earlier that this is a relatively easy, simple platform to use. So if you reach out, we can get you started in 3 days. So in 3 days, we can get some data sources from your organization. Just very often, it's just samples, a couple of sample databases. We can unify that and show that to you with connectors. And we can basically start to show you the benefits and the value of having one centralized view of your customer. It's not very difficult. We can get you started very quickly. We can train you, then you can continue on your own on that journey of being able to provide your customers with better personalized information and better personalized interactions.